Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. This video is all about the latest summon showcase in the game. It is a prize summon showcase featuring the gun goddess of Dragalia Lost herself, Ilia. So this is a very exciting showcase. A lot of hype was generated for this when it was announced in this month in Dragalia Lost for the month of October. And of course, being in October and following up from the second anniversary, we have free tenfolds every single day this month. So to a certain extent, all the showcases this month you should summon on because you can't hold over those free tenfolds. It's use it or lose it. If you log in, you get to do them. If you don't, you miss it for the day. So everybody is going to at least get 70 free summons on this just by logging in because this showcase lasts 7 days. But in this video, I'll try analyze Ilia's kit, talk about her and her playstyle and my overall opinion on her, as well as try answer the question of, with this being a prize showcase, besides just Ilia herself, is there merit to just trying to summon all out on this showcase to get some of the prizes? So this is definitely uncharted territory in Dragalia Lost. We've only ever had one prize showcase in the game before, and we only have one other mana caster right now in the form of Joe, who just released as of the second anniversary. So a lot of this is pretty new to me and new to most players in the game, so bear that in mind with this analysis. It's kind of my initial impression on this, but I do have a strong feeling on how much you should summon on this showcase. So let me start by saying, I hope all of you who are watching know this already, but here is your reminder to do all of your daily free tenfolds and wait to decide on any further summons until the end of the banner, the last day of the banner. That's going to let you get a sneak peek of the next banner, make a more informed decision about how you want to spend your resources. Not to mention, you may just pick up Ilia in your free summons. And as you can see on screen now, well, I happened to get really lucky on the second day of free tenfolds for this one. So I started recording on my phone after I saw a rainbow mana caster drop from the summon circle out of the sky. And yeah, I was sure it was Ilia because she's the only 5-star mana caster in the summoning pool. So I did manage to get her in one of my free daily tenfolds. And for me, that means I'm going to do the rest of my free daily tenfolds. But that's pretty much all I want to do on this showcase. So that's generally my recommendation for players as well, is once you pick up Ilia on this showcase, my advice is do your free daily tenfolds, but outside of that, you don't necessarily want to summon any further on this. And I have to say, I've been pretty fortunate. So I was able to clear the last banner. Here is the evidence of that. And I really wanted Mine. She took the longest to be able to summon, but I did manage to pick her up, and I wanted Midgardstormer 0, and along the way, I was able to get Gala Zaina. So this is my Forgotten Truths theme team since we don't have playable Zethia for right now. Luckily, the rest of the gang is all here thanks to Ilia showing up miraculously on that free tenfolds. But hopefully that's evidence to you that, yes, it is worth not spending all your resources on day 1. I got her on my free tenfold on day 2. Luckily, I didn't waste a lot of summons on day 1 trying to get her, and I managed to pick her up for free instead. So let's start by talking about Ilia. Ilia, as I mentioned, is a mana caster, aka gun. So she says she can change fate with her alchemy, just watch. She is the first type of mode on the mana casters. And just to be quite honest, I'm not too familiar with these, but I think this is the only mode that we have so far for normal play. Whereas I think Joe in the Alberian Battle Royale is technically a different mode. She's an attack unit. The available modes to her are just the first mode. And she has a lot of the characteristics of like a Gala character, despite all indications being that she's part of the permanent summoning pool and is not a limited time adventurer. So obviously her portrait, she looks really great. People really like how she's styled, and she's, sort of futuristic compared to what we normally see in Dragalia Lost, and nothing like the Ilia that we would have expected from the Ilian Church and the mythos. But let's read her skills. This is going to be kind of rough because I feel like she is definitely a character you have to play to get a sense for how she actually works. But her first skill is called Drive Buster. It does light damage to multiple targets and inflicts flash burn. If the user has one or more alchemic cartridges, it will deal light damage to enemies in a line, inflict flash burn, and consume one alchemic charge, or cartridge rather. So flash burn is actually a new affliction introduced on her for the first time. It's kind of nice. It kind of works similar to frostbite in that it lasts longer than some of the other damage over time afflictions, so it lasts 21 seconds. That's one of the good attributes about frostbite, is that you have a longer duration for, say, Punisher effects, and so you need fewer sources of frostbite. You want to be inflicting it at a slower cadence or slower pace. So you've already seen some strategies develop around this as far as using frostbite skills as shared skills, and then that has enough frequency where you can use frostbite Punisher on various element team comp. So I think Flashburn could work similarly, but as for now, there is no Flashburn Punisher Wormprint, so the nicest thing about it, I could say for now, is just that it operates on a different axis than Paralysis, in the sense that, if you're not aware of this, the way afflictions work in Dragalia Lost is bosses slowly build up immunity to them over time, the more and more they get afflicted with the same type of affliction. So for example, let's say a boss starts off with no burn resistance. Well, the first time you burn them in a quest, their burn resistance actually ticks up by 5%. So once you burn them a total of 20 times, they have 100% resistance. From that point on, in the quest, whenever you try burn them using a burn-inducing skill, you're going to see the word resist, and the text is going to be yellow instead of white. When it's yellow, it means you've capped out. Their tolerance has built up to 100% on that particular affliction. And if it's white, it just means that you missed your proc chance to land the affliction. It just didn't land that particular time. So all that to say, when it comes to Flashburn, it's kind of nice that it's not just straight up paralysis, because there are already a lot of other light characters causing paralysis. And even though there's Radiant Xuansong, who can reduce the enemy resistance to paralysis, well, you do tend to hit that cap eventually, or at least you hit a point where you're getting a lot of that white resist text in battle because your affliction chance is low enough and the enemy's buildup of tolerance is high enough that you're more often than not missing when you're trying to cause paralysis. So yeah, Flashburn having access to a new affliction, it's pretty cool. It's a good thing that she has this. I mean, it's definitely better for her than paralysis in principle, since it's likely as a light unit, she's already going to be running with other characters who can paralyze the enemy, and she'll likely be able to easily run a Paralysis Punisher Wormprint if you want to use that on her. As for the damage on this skill, it looks like it's about 2,000% damage, a little bit less than that. I think it's like between 18 and 1900, not counting the flash burn when you're not using an alchemic cartridge. When you're using an alchemic cartridge, it should do more damage but fewer hits, but more damage per hit. So I think when you're not using an alchemic cartridge, it does 10 hits. When you're using one, it does 6 hits, but more damage per hit. So I really can't explain it better than that without playing her in action. And let's go on to talk about what the alchemic cartridges themselves are, because this is also kind of complicated. In fact, we may circle back to this. Let's talk first about the co-ability, chain co-ability, and her regular abilities, because they're a little bit simpler. But her co-ability, Gauge Accelerator, we saw this on Joe, so this does seem to be sort of the standard as far as mana casters go. Her chain co-ability is going to give her extra shadow resistance, and anyone on your team of the light element extra shadow resistance when their combo count is 10 hits or higher. And her abilities, well, for one, she has Epiphany 2, which makes her immune to poison and curses, or at least grants her 100% resistance. It's not full immunity, obviously, because there are workarounds, such as the Plague mechanic, which could technically still poison her if she's plagued. She has Enigma 2 as her first ability. Dodging will carry out an additional attack toward the target. Very interesting. We saw something similar with Joe, where when he dodged, I think he got a critical rate boost. So maybe this is a trademark of the Manicaster weapon type, is they're going to have more abilities that focus on the dodge mechanic. I love that they're actually utilizing the dodge mechanic space. That's kind of cool to see that action become relevant. Perhaps we'll eventually one day even see things like the dash attack become relevant, because there's a lot of little things like that in Dragalia which really don't serve too much of a purpose, but occasionally it'll come up. And yeah, it's cool to see dodging come up outside the context of, oh, infinite iframes, which so many people seem to dread at a time. Her last ability is Critical Output 2. It gives her a 30% critical rate for 15 seconds when an alchemic cartridge is consumed by any means other than depletion of time. Okay, so now we have to explain what the alchemic cartridges are. So to do that, let's read Alchemic Enhancement. Unlocking this skill grants the user an alchemy gauge. If the user does not have any alchemic charges, and I keep calling them charges, sorry, I know they're cartridges, but effectively they're charges, right? The alchemy gauge will fill when standard attacks, dodge attacks, or force strikes connect with enemies. The alchemy gauge charges faster when the combo count is 30 or higher. This skill can only be used when the user's alchemy gauge has one or more charges. So, just unlocking this skill is going to enable her to have this whole alchemy gauge mechanic happening, and for you to be able to charge it with standard attacks, dodge attacks, and force strikes. And then, when it's unlocked and you have charges in your alchemy gauge, which I guess also means cartridges, then you can actually use the skill. So using the skill grants the user an alchemic cartridge for each charge of the alchemy gauge. Oh, okay, never mind. They're actually distinct. So I need to be a little bit more careful when I'm reading here. So I guess the gauge has charges, and then using the skill turns the charges from the gauge into cartridges. All right, Ilia, I see you. You're making us use reading comprehension. This is very difficult. But anyway, alchemic cartridges grant the user a unique force strike. They last 20 seconds that consumes all remaining alchemic cartridges. The number of hits this unique force strike deals is based on the number of alchemic cartridges consumed. If the user has one or more alchemic cartridges, this skill will instead deal light damage to enemies directly ahead and consume one alchemic cartridge. Ooh, okay. So let's digest this a little bit. So when you use this skill, for every charge of your alchemy gauge, you're going to get an alchemic cartridge. They last for 20 seconds. They give you a unique force strike that uses all of your alchemic cartridges, and it does a number of hits based on the number of cartridges that you consume. So for every charge, you're going to get one alchemic cartridge. It enhances your force strike for 20 seconds. Whenever you do that force strike, you're going to lose all your cartridges, and you're going to do hits equal to the number of cartridges you use. However, if you use this skill when you already have cartridges, then instead you're going to deal light damage to enemies directly ahead and consume one of the cartridges. So this is kind of interesting. Like, there's definitely got to be a question right now, and perhaps this is already resolved in the community because people have been faster to get to this banner than I have. But the fundamental question, and please leave your insights in the comments so that if you've been playing as Ilia, you can share that with others, because I haven't had a chance to play as her yet. But essentially is, do you want to have her be more of a skill damage build or more of a force strike build? That's going to sort of depend on what the damage is on this unique force strike that you can have hit multiple times. Perhaps you want to use force strike related prints on her and take advantage of that. Otherwise, just using this second skill will consume one alchemic cartridge. And from what I'm seeing, it seems to have a good modifier. So based on what's in the wiki, it looks like it's 2354 for one hit, and then 235 light damage for another hit. So like 2800, 2700 almost. That's an okay modifier, I suppose. In version 2.0, it's not as high of a modifier as we sometimes see, but in pre-2.0, that would have been a very good modifier. As far as other details that I'm noticing here on the wiki, which I've pulled up to the side for myself, is about the Enigma ability. So when you're dodging, you'll carry out additional attacks toward the target. Well, the wiki points out that it's 7 additional hits, or 7 hits when you dodge. Very low damage, only 10% light damage, but raises the question, if you want to have a combo of 30 hits or more, is it faster to to incorporate some dodging into that. And I imagine because of how the Manicaster's combo works, it's kind of like a C1, like you only do one combo, but it has several hits to it. I think you would maybe want to do that and then dash, get the hits off the dash, then do one hit again, then dash again to accumulate a combo pretty quickly. But to be honest, pretty new to me. I have not really had a chance to dive into the Manicasters too much. All of this to say, all of the anecdotal evidence that I have experienced around Ilia and having run alongside her in several runs of Tartarus, maybe 30 or 40 runs at this point with other people using her in co-op, she seems perfectly fine and possibly quite good. Light is a deep element. Light has a lot of powerful adventurers, and just having good dragons like Daikokuten and Gala Thor make it so that you can kind of bring anyone to Tartarus. The master difficulty isn't available yet, so we don't really know what that's going to be like. But as of now, version 2.0 is super wide open. So in that sense, is Ilia going to be the difference maker in whether you can clear or not clear? Probably not. Now, could she have some special applications, let's say in Auto Battle of Expert Tartarus, which is still just on the frontier of territory as far as, players at the end of the endgame being able to full auto that? It's possible. I mean, she does have dual resistances. So one thing that's appealing about her is this could let you craft a light team with complete dual resistances, because you have Gala Yuden, of course. He has dual resistances. Now Gala Zayna has dual resistances, and now Ilia. And of course, finally you have Luca. If you Mana Spiral Luca, Luca has both Curse and Poison Res. So that could be kind of interesting. Maybe there's some content in which that becomes particularly relevant. But at a surface level, I feel like Ilia is another good light adventurer, but not necessarily anything special. Now, she does have more upside potential than some other characters, just because, for one, she's a Manicaster, and we don't really know how this is going to shake out exactly, but we do know that the Manicaster currently has fewer weapon bonuses than other weapon types. So if you're seeing her already have competitive DPS with a lot of other weapon types, which have access to these bonuses that scale up to 18% and eventually 22.5%, and for Manicasters, you only have very few bonuses for light weapons, and even then, not for the Void light weapon Manicaster, because that's not out yet. Well, you can imagine in the future, once you amass an army of Manicasters and their respective weapons, she might be quite good. So I do see some upside potential to her. Personally, I mean, it's Ilia. Like, I want to summon her. I'm going to summon her. I did summon her, but I would have gone for her had I not. So yeah, that's my fluff analysis of her. There's a lot I really can't say about her. But on paper, I mean, it looks good. It looks kind of like a cool, unique play style, but seems to have a little bit of different directions that you can go in. And I mean, to me, I see Ilia, I summon. I'm a simple man, and luckily I was able to pull her. Now, here's the thing. Do you want to keep summoning after you get Ilia on this prize showcase? And that is where I would say, outside of your daily free tenfolds, probably not. So on this showcase, it's normal appearance rates, so 4% appearance rates at base. Ilia is the only thing with a rate up, and nothing else has an appearance rate up at all. So the question is, do you keep summoning just for the prizes, I guess, or for something in the Worm Sigils? And in my opinion, the only thing worth getting out of the Worm Sigils is Ilia if it happens to take you 300 pulls and you still haven't gotten her. There are 2 dragons here available. I'm glad they made something available, but I actually kind of think that these are a little bit of a trap. If you have 300 Worm Sigils by the end of the banner and you already got Ilia, I wouldn't spark for either of these dragons. They're just not at the caliber where I consider that to be worth it. Frankly, I would save my Worm Sigils, let the banner expire, they'll become Worm Sigil remnants, and then you can trade them for Champion's Testaments. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. If you're lacking any copies of these, then maybe it's a consideration, but if you have even one, definitely don't do it, because both of these dragons can be unbound for free by playing the campaign on hard and very hard, and you can obtain draconic essences to unbind them over time. So if you even have one copy of these, I would not consider sparking for them. Just use your worm sigils, let them become remnants, and then use those rather on the Champion's Testaments in the remnant trade. But as for the prizes themselves, I think that what you're going to see with this banner, and this is part of the marketing for this, you're going to see people posting that they got the platinum prize. They're going to post screenshots for the better things they got, right? Because that's when it's exciting. That's when you want to share it. So you're going to log into Discord, or you're going to be on Twitter or the Reddit perhaps, I don't know, and you're going to see things like, oh, I did a tenfold and I got 3 sunlight stones, or I got even 1 sunlight stone or an ingot, adamantite or Damascus ingot, and you're going to think to yourself, I want an ingot, I want a sunlight stone, let me summon. But ultimately, the rates for those are low, and there's no pity system or worm sigil system in place for the prizes. What you should think about these prizes as is an added bonus while you're doing your summoning, while you're going for Ilia, doing your free daily tenfolds, but I don't think it's actually compelling enough for this to be the main reason you want to summon. And here is why. You're only guaranteed on a tenfold a bronze prize or above. One of them or above. So if you look at the bronze prize, there's a lot of just generic materials here. Other than the Damascus crystal, which is only 1 crystal, everything else is a generic prize. And 1 Damascus crystal is only 7/10 of what you need as far as the sands you're going to need for unbinding core weapons. One of the big gates right now for really enfranchised players is Twinkling Sands or Damascus Ingots to unbind core weapons to unlock their mana bonuses. That is like a hard gate that you can't really buy your way out of, because those are usually given out for events or things like the monthly Mercurial Gauntlet, Victor's Trove. You can't really purchase extra Twinkling Sands, but you can purchase extra Damascus Ingots, and you need 7 sands or 1 ingot for each unbind you do on these core weapons. So I've seen players wail on things like this just to try to get extra sands, but in my opinion, it's not worth it, because you're only guaranteed a bronze prize on a tenfold, and it's 1 Damascus crystal. You need 10 of those to make an ingot, which would be 7 sands worth. Even silver prize has been significantly diluted this time around. High Lightworm's Tail, Lightworm's Great Sphere, Rainbow Orb, Resplendence Orb. You never want to see these, and for most players, Knight's Testament you have plenty of. Moonlight Stone basically just means Eldwater, so the only good ones here are the 2 crystals, the 3 sands, the 1 ore, or 1 Champion's Testament. And sure, at gold, things look good, other than the golden key, I suppose, which is just Eldwater. You easy come for Eldwater to a great degree. But, you could get that Sunlight Stone, Damascus Ingot, or Adamantite Ingot at Platinum, so it is very tempting. I just don't think the math is actually very favorable for this. And if you're getting only 5th prize and 6th prize on your other pulls, which is more likely than not what's going to happen, well, all you're really getting out of that of value is things like Exquisite Honey, Ethon Ashes, and, regular honey and some rupees. But you can always use Wormite to refresh your stamina or refresh your Gather Wings rather than summoning, which is effectively a guarantee of a refresh compared to gambling and hoping or maybe getting a refresh as a consolation prize. So yeah, I really don't think it's worth going for more than once you get Ilia on this, but anything you do get along the way is a nice upside. It is a pleasant thing to have available. The math I did, and someone can check my math on this, but it's not even an average or an expected value of 2 sands per tenfold summon you do on this. And you need over 1,500 sands total to max unbind all of the core weapons and get all the weapon bonuses for the core weapons. So I had the math on this as, in expectation, every tenfold you would get on average 1.18 Twinkling Sands out of this, which obviously there's no drop that is exactly that many Twinkling Sands, but just that's how much you would get per tenfold. So if you think about that, and you need 1,500 of these Twinkling Sands, you could easily whale away a lot of resources on this and still not get the sands that you need, which is the main gate. And if you're willing to whale that much and spend that much, just go to the shop, buy the packs that have the ingots, buy the packs that have whatever it is you need, the Sunlight Stone, I think it's better to take the sure thing in this case rather than gamble. If you're strictly free to play, maybe you go for this. If you're more of a gambling type person, you love the randomness and the luck, sure, maybe you go for it. It's totally random outside of Ilia what you might get, so this is better, the fewer things that you actually have, so more things are going to be new to you. But for most players, I think once you get Ilia, once you do your free daily tenfold summons, go ahead and stop on the prize showcase, save the rest of your resources. Halloween is right around the corner. Who knows what else we're going to get? We might get another Gala remix, another Gala banner at the end of the month. And that is my take on the prize showcase and Ilia, everyone. So I apologize for the Ilia analysis not being as in-depth. I am working on crafting a proper weapon for her right now so that I could get in some good testing of her. She may be a character I'd try do a spotlight video on. It's been quite a while since I did any of those videos, but I'm thinking I'm going to have to make one just for myself to understand the Manicaster weapon type a little bit better. So if you'd like to see that, definitely let me know. I'm torn, I might do her, I might do Joe, I'm not sure who to do. But as I said before, that is really going to do it for today. So thank you as always for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.